Welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because we're going to explore a truly revolutionary approach to how we design and inhabit the spaces around us. We spend so much of our lives inside buildings, often completely walled off from the outside world. But what if the walls didn't separate us from nature? What if instead they literally invited nature in? Well, today we're looking at a brilliant architectural movement called Tropical Modernism, and specifically the incredible mind of Geoffrey Bawa. Let's get right into it.
I want to start by asking you to think about a pretty provocative question. Can a building simply disappear into a forest? It completely challenges our traditional perception of structures, doesn't it? We usually think of buildings as things that stand out, right? Things that proudly dominate a landscape with concrete, glass, and steel. But what if a building's ultimate triumph was actually blending in so perfectly that it seemed to just vanish into the trees and rocks around it?
Section 1. Meet Geoffrey Bawa, the father of Sri Lankan architecture.
Okay, let's dive into this. Bawa is the visionary who answered that previous question with a resounding yes. Born in 1919, he went on to leave an absolutely massive historical footprint. He didn't just build a few nice houses, He fundamentally transformed modern architecture in his home country of Sri Lanka and eventually became one of the most influential architectural visionaries in all of Asia. He entirely reimagined what a building could and really should be in a tropical climate.
Moving on to Section 2. Defining Tropical Modernism, a seamless blend of styles.
So, at its core, Tropical Modernism is an architectural style blending modern architecture with nature and traditional Sri Lankan design. By combining these elements, Bawa was able to create buildings that absolutely didn't feel sterile or cold. Instead, his spaces feel inherently peaceful, incredibly elegant, and just deeply, deeply connected to the environment around them.
Historically, traditional Sri Lankan design and modern architecture might seem like two completely distinct approaches. Modern architecture can often feel very rigid and geometric, while traditional design is rooted in local culture and climate. But Bawa's absolute genius was that he brilliantly married these two approaches into one cohesive, harmonious style. He didn't just choose one over the other, he merged them together to get the absolute best of both worlds.
Section 3. Sculpting Nature and Light. Architecture as an environment.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how his buildings actually breathed and functioned. Notice anything missing from these core architectural materials. We aren't just talking about concrete, steel, or bricks and mortar here. No, for Geoffrey Bawa, nature and light were his fundamental building blocks. He used light, water, open space, tropical gardens, and courtyards as actual structural elements. A courtyard wasn't just some empty space next to a building. It was an active part of the floor plan. A tropical garden was literally just as crucial to the architecture as the roof.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real magic of his approach, seamlessly merging indoor and outdoor spaces to capture natural ventilation. By removing those harsh boundaries between the inside and the outside, the surrounding scenic landscapes literally became part of the architectural experience itself. Instead of relying on, say, artificial air conditioning to fight the tropical heat, Bawa used those open spaces and courtyards we just talked about to invite natural breezes to flow right through the building. It's almost like the building itself is breathing.
The result of this incredible focus on nature and light is profound. His designs created spaces that feel calm, luxurious, and timeless, even decades later. We aren't just looking at buildings that are visually beautiful from the outside, we're talking about the emotional power of his designs. By pulling nature inside, Bawa crafted deeply moving spaces to actually inhabit.
Section 4. Iconic Architectural Masterpieces, Lunuganga and Heritance Kandalama.
These two masterpieces perfectly contrast his incredible range. First up, we have Lunuganga. This was his own breathtaking private country estate, and it essentially served as his personal architectural laboratory where he tested out these fusions of modernism and nature. And then, contrast that private estate with Heritance Kandalama. This is a massive, world-famous public hotel, but rather than dominating the area, it's built directly into a rocky forest landscape. It perfectly executes that question we asked at the very beginning of this explainer. It literally appears to disappear into nature. No way, right? But it does.
Well, once people saw how beautifully these principles worked, the idea spread like wildfire. Bawa's expanding influence took off, and his work rapidly spread across all types of structures. We're talking everything from luxury resorts to intimate private homes, and from religious buildings to large public institutions. And this influence didn't just stay in Sri Lanka either. His revolutionary approach to capturing light and natural ventilation spread far beyond its borders to inspire architects around the globe.
Section 5. A climate-sensitive legacy. Harmony over domination.
If we break down his timeless philosophy, we get three core tenets: simplicity, climate-sensitive design, and natural beauty. By prioritizing these three steps, he proved that you absolutely don't need to fight the environment to create something modern and luxurious. This specific framework is exactly why he continues to influence and inspire entirely new generations of modern tropical architects today.
So the crucial point is this: architecture should exist in harmony with nature, rather than dominate it. That is the ultimate takeaway from his life's work. It's the core message that earned him his reputation as one of the absolute greatest in architectural history. We don't have to conquer our surroundings, We can build right alongside them.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. As our climate changes, how can our own spaces learn to breathe with nature again? Geoffrey Bawa showed us it was possible decades ago by making light, water, and open air his primary building materials. Imagine what our modern world would look like if we all applied his wisdom to the spaces we inhabit today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity to look at the buildings around you in a whole new light.